Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker.
I'm Lee White.
And I'm Samantha Cotterill, and let's jump into it.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about how do you reinvent yourself before the new year? Okay, so I'm not sure the exact date that this podcast is coming out, but it's going to be like September, early September. And if you look at the calendar, you have September, October, November, December. That's 4 months. And then you have the new year. Now, most people start figuring out their like New Year's resolutions in late December, mid-December, or they think about them on January 1st, like, it's the new year. What am I going to do this year? And I was thinking, here at 3 Point Perspective, here at SVSLEARN, we want to be the type of people that we're already rocking and rolling when January comes, while everybody else is like, I just got a new gym membership. And we're going to be like already, sharing fat gains that we got. Like, and we're already like have a brand new portfolio, all that stuff. We've been dieting for 4 months already. And we're like, what are you talking about? I did this last quarter. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, I gave you guys a homework assignment.
Wait, what?
I didn't actually, but
Good.
But I shared with you Cal Newport's podcast episode that he did about reinventing yourself in 4 months, right? And essentially, he lays out. I'm going to share my screen here. He lays out this. What he calls let's see here. We're going to go here to this.
Just remember, it's not a diet, it's a live it.
He lays out like this stack. He calls it the life stack, I think is what it is. And you sort of stack these things on top of each other. And this was an episode that came out last year, I think. And I remember hearing it and thinking, oh, this is really cool. I wonder how it applies to artists. And so what we're going to do is I'll briefly take you through Cal Newport's whole thing that he establishes, and then we're going to apply that to artists. And the whole time I want you guys to either poke holes in it or to tell you how this would apply to what you're wanting to do. And hopefully this is somewhat of a discussion and not just me presenting the whole thing. But the first question, and I'm asking this to you two, my co-hosts here. And if you're listening or watching on YouTube, what would your art and your life look like if you reinvented yourself by the new year? Okay. Now, I know some of us don't need a full reinvention, but I know that I need to, I've got a few rough edges that I wouldn't mind polishing. I've got some stuff that I want to get to and fix that have sort of crept into my life over the years. And I have these peaks and valleys of like productivity and creativity and things like that. And I could see myself wanting to be a different person than I am right now in 4 months. What about you guys?
No, I got it all figured out.
All right, Lee, have at it.
Good to go.
Nope, we're good. Podcast over.
I'm fine. I got no advice. I'm living the dream right now. No, I mean, I think that's good, but I mean, I guess that assumes that you need to change or that you want to change. But I don't know if you remember last year when we did this, I started working in quarters anyway. Mm-hmm. And so mine's not necessarily a reinvention of myself, but it's a clarification on, did I pick the right things? Was it the thing that I actually wanted? And then I'm a really big fan of backing up and taking a big picture view and thinking to myself, I thought it was going to be this one way. Do I really like that? Do I really want to go that way? And if not, just basically throwing away what I said and just starting something new without feeling guilty about it or thinking, oh no, I said I was going to do this thing, so now I have to slog through it because everybody's going to think I bailed. The biggest thing that I take away from all of it is no one cares what I do. I always think about that. And it frees me up to do whatever I want to. If I want to paint in watercolor, I will. If I want to do a project, like a self-publishing project, I will. Or if I don't, I won't. I don't feel locked into that because I know no one cares.
Yeah.
That's good. But you notice, and so you care, and that's really the one person that matters, right?
Right. So the question, going back to your question was, what would my life look like in 4 months if what?
If you reinvented or you actually accomplished the thing that you want to do that you haven't done yet. Because I know, like, too, looking at you, Lee, watching you this last year or the last couple of years dive back into watercolor in a way that you haven't before was like super impressive. And there's a lot of cool things that you were doing. And I have seen a reinvention of Lee White over the last couple of years. But the other thing too, though, and Sam, you can pipe in here, is we have these different facets of life. So you might be in the right place that you want to be creatively, but are you in the right place that you want to be financially? Or are you in the place that you want to be as far as like having your act together, like you're organized and you're not stressed out about stuff. So
I think the big thing in 4 months, again, it's not necessarily the New Year's resolution style thing. For me, it is like, hey, we're getting ready to go into the last quarter, and what am I going to do? One of the things that I thought I was going to do last year was to finish the tarot deck that I was working on. And I got to admit, I've just lost steam on it. And it's a huge project. That's one of the things. I was super happy with the images I was making for it. That's the one weird thing. I have a cover, I have everything. But it was so daunting. Once Will and I both joined a program, I can't even remember the name of it. What was that marketing program that Will? Launch Boom.
Yeah, Launch Boom.
And
where they help you take an idea and like shepherd it through.
Right. How do you navigate it through the process of gearing up for a Kickstarter or something like that? And I gotta say, man, it was good in that they're right. I mean, what they're doing is right, and they're responsible for 6-figure launches all over the place, even 7-figure launches. But what comes with that is, if you want to make, they basically say 10% of what your goal is going to be your marketing budget, or it may even be more than that, 20%, say, for example. So if you want to make $100,000, you better be ready to spend $20,000 to get to that point. It sounds great, scary, right? But if you don't, you spend $20,000. It just started to seem overwhelming. And then this is a weird thing, but from Will's background, when we were podcasting and all the boxes, I was like, I don't know. Once you make something, the fun part about making a self-published project is that you make it. It's the making of it. And like, here, I'm holding it in my hand. Those are the most exciting things to me about a self-publishing project. The bad part is now I am a salesperson and with a product. I might as well have any product. I'm selling coffee cups or whatever, and I need to get it out there. And that's the part that Will is so good at, that I just like making art. And so the thought of having all these boxes and then trying to sell these tarot decks, I just lost the motivation. So that's when I had to back up. That's when I dove back into watercolor. That's when I make so many images. I probably annoy Anthony and Sam because I send so much work. But I do work a lot. And so that's a long-winded way of saying that in 4 months from now, I'm looking at signing with a new children's book agent, and I'd like to do another book. I've made so many singular images over the past 7 or 8 months and learned just an absolute ton. Now I'm ready to apply that to a project, and I'd like it to be a children's book.
Okay, cool. What about you, Sam?
That was a very short answer, Lee.
Yeah, I'm quick, just to the point.
I started to listen to it and thinking, wait, what was the question?
7 years.
I think, okay, let's see. In 4 months for me, I am, I guess transitioning I'm kind of like Lee, where I'm doing a lot of experimentation and exploring in different mediums, and I'm definitely going more graphic. I think in 4 months, my interest is in where I went from doing 3D books that took quite a long time. I think Look took 8 months, which it started with every book to take longer and longer the more detailed I was getting, that I'm kind of scaling back and interested in whipping out books again, because I've noticed something about my creativity with attention span, and the quicker I can kind of get through something, it maintains my interest. And I really kind of want to crank out more books in a good way, in a fun, quick way that keeps things lively. And I'm just looking for that. I just need a change of pace, basically,
Gotcha.
with
Okay.
production.
So what I'm going to share with you guys today is I think it can apply to you two seasoned professionals, but I think it's also great for someone who just is not happy with where they're at and really wants to start making like real growth and progress in a direction that they're not currently going as well. So we'll see how these apply to you and also how they can apply to the person who is looking for a full, reinvention. Now, again, this is based on this video from Cal Newport, how to reinvent your life in 4 months. And we're going to talk specifically how artists can do this in regards to their careers. But I want to talk about his deep life stack really quick, just so we have a framework and understanding, and then we'll show how it applies to people, to artists. I mean, so the first level on this stack, and this is the foundation, is you have to be disciplined. So number one is discipline, and this is where you build consistency and self-trust, that you can set a habit and stick with it, and just get yourself to like be able to do a thing consistently. All right. So once you've got that, then you can add on top of that values, right? So you're consistently doing a habit. Now, second level is values. And this is where you reconnect with a deeper sense of what matters to you as an artist, right? And so this is where you're going to figure out, well, why am I trying to be disciplined? What's the thing that when I go astray, I'm going to be reminded of what I value and what I want, and it's going to keep me back on this path, right? And once you've got that established, you're going to then focus on control. And so this is where the rest of your life, the things circling around these creative habits that you're starting and these values that you've established, this is where you're going to get a grip on your managing time, managing tasks, managing your obligations so that you're not drowning in so much stuff and that you can focus on something that aligns with your values. And then once you've got control, the top of it, the capstone of the stack is vision. Okay. So you've got the discipline, you've got the values, you've got the control. Now you can aim all of this energy towards accomplishing something substantial and something big. All right. So that's the stack. This is the timeline, because we're also talking about 4 months. Can you do this in 4 months? And, for some people, they might be like, well, let's do 4 quarters instead of 4 months. Let's take a full year to do this. And that's fine. You can do whatever you want. But I according to Cal, like there is a way that you could do something pretty substantial in a quarter, right? So weeks 1 and 2 is where you do phase 1, where you build your discipline, you set up your habits, you set up systems. Then weeks 3 through 6, this is where you do the value reconnecting, where you write, your specific personal code. You start doing specific rituals. And then weeks 7 through 10, this is where you do the gaining control over your tasks, where you start automating things and where you like cut out the fat. And then the final weeks, 11 through 16, which is sort of like the month of December, if we're starting now, this is where you start the overhaul of an area in your life, or you start working on something bigger, right? And then if you want a bigger change in your life, you want to become, in the case of Cal Newport's thing, you want to like shed 200 pounds and become like a trim person, or gain 50 pounds of muscle. Like this is where you've got the habits, you got the values, you've got the focus and all that. Then you can start on that path to really doing something like that. So that's Cal Newport's framework. You guys have any comments on this? And if not, or if so, after that, we'll go into how to apply it specifically to artists.
No, I think the idea of 4 months versus a year is better in the sense that I think if you stretch it out over a year, it's much more likely that you would quit. So do you think, if you give yourself too long of a time span,
Yeah.
because I do think the shorter span is more easily attainable in terms of success. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I'm curious to see what your plan is.
Oh, Lee, you're on mute.
I was going to say, I think it's too long. I think 4 months, basically that gives you 3 sessions per year if you broke it down like that. I think 4 months is too long to evaluate stuff. I like the world works, at least where we are, in quarters. I mean, it's seasonal. It goes along with so many different things. I think quarters is a much better way to do it, because the big thing, like I was saying earlier in the long-winded way of answering that question, was you want to be able to move in a direction and then take stock and change it, either dive more into it if it's working or change direction entirely if it's not.
Yeah.
And 4 months is tough. I think if 4 months just gives you just enough time where you lose steam.
That's true. And I will say, I agree with you, because I realized as I said that, I don't know if I would even make it 4 months. But I also do want to recognize too that I think it's important to be aware that what works for this first phase, like let's say you go through the steps and you find a formula that works really well, but then life changes and sometimes what's working for you at that moment maybe needs to change. I think it's more being open to that. If let's say you find a whole system that works really well, to be okay with that, maybe you have to revisit it and adapt it and change it according to where you are in your life, because that's going to fluctuate as well. So
Yeah, I definitely feel like there should be maybe a weekly, if not a monthly, sort of check-in to see where you're at, how you feeling, and what you've accomplished, what you still have to accomplish, and what's working and what isn't. I think that's a good point. Okay, so the 3-point perspective artist reinvention stack. Here we go. Number 1, discipline. Okay, so what this looks like for you is this: for the next 2 weeks, you're just going to focus on being consistent on something. Now, if you're a person who's just like, I have all these sketchbooks I've never filled up, or I have these half-finished art pieces, or, you just sort of have half-finished projects laying around. This might be the thing that you need to do first, and that is start with a tracking system. So whether you have a notebook, whether you have, I don't know, software like Trello or something like that, something that you can keep track of, even if it's just little boxes on a sheet of paper, you can just keep track, like today I drew in my sketchbook. Today I worked on this little thing. So that you can just look at 2 weeks worth or a month's worth and see where you struggle and with what you're doing good at. Okay. So that's the first step.
Hey, Jake, let me stop you right there just real quick. Yeah. Samantha had the best burn of you of all time about this step.
Let's hear it.
I did. What did I? I'm scared.
We got to where we were exchanging the little, I don't even know what you call it on the phone, where you're like a little like talking cow or an octopus or whatever, and we're exchanging audio messages. And she sent me one. She's like, "Hey, I'm Jake Parker, and I think you need like 13 sketchbooks. One for this idea, one for the chores you're going to do today, one for."
That's true. I did do that. I own it. I did do that.
It was so good. It was so accurate. Anyway, because you're one of the best people about that specific step. I'm not very good at it.
And I'm the
you're
worst.
awesome at it.
We're at 3 levels. I'm the worst.
I used to be like you guys. I used to not track anything, and I hated it. Like, I was always frustrated. Like, I finished the day and I feel horrible because what did I even do? And then I started writing down everything I did so I could look at, because the weird thing is with what we do, a lot of it is, unless you're laying stacks of paper on top of each other, you could see that thing grow, how do you know you've made any progress on anything? Right. Especially when you have a day where you're just devoted to admin stuff. So that's where, yeah, that's how that started, was like, let's just start tracking things. Okay. I appreciate you guys are nothing compared to what my kids do to me. So
Let's see. On April 13th, I had a chicken salad. I have it right here. I've logged it.
I saved a leaf in my book here just to remind me. Okay. Okay, the next step is pick 3 keystone habits that you want to work on. And these things, I say, one is an output habit, one's an organizational habit, and one's an input habit. Okay? So, and that way you're not picking 3 things that are all like, I'm going to draw in my sketchbook every day. I'm going to make a piece of art, and I'm going to also, build something with Legos, right? Which are all sort of creative output things. I would say pick one of those that you're going to do every day, some sort of creative output thing. Pick some sort of organizational thing that you struggle with that you're going to work on every day. So like, I don't know, what's an organizational thing one of you guys struggle with?
Mine is I'm really bad at like sending invoices or setting up appointments for things.
Yeah.
I always put stuff off. I'm really bad at that.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be one of your keystone habits, is like, if there's little administrative tasks or little paperwork things that you're not good at, you're just going to be like, well, this is the thing I'm going to be working on daily or weekly or something like that. And then an input thing is anything that I think inspires you. So maybe it's you're going to read a poem every day, or maybe you're going to read a chapter of a book every day, or maybe you're going to watch a show that's really aligned with or you're going to go to the library and check out a book every week or something like that.
Yeah, mine's actually reading. I am doing that right now as you speak.
Oh, cool.
Not literally reading right now as you speak, but I recognize too. I actually started that a couple weeks ago because I thought, I am not doing anything input wise that's having me create images in my head that's not fed visually through. I mean, I love movies, I love TV, but everything is so visually given to me that I'm noticing for my creative practice, I want to start just reading fiction more get my brain percolating and like just reading where I'm starting to generate images in my brain from Word.
Right.
That's something I'm actually trying to do more because I wasn't doing it at all.
Well, I know with Lee too, like he's big on like the whole reason he moved to Colorado was so he could do more outdoor stuff that aligned with what he wanted to do, like frolf and mountain biking and snowboarding, all that stuff. So input could be just like, this is an activity that fills my bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think mine would be reading, and I love going to the coffee shops and just sitting in the cool coffee shop and watching people. And for me, that feeds. So I'm trying to do that more because it does feed my soul. I need that for my.
I tell you, in terms of input, are you talking input for your overall life or for your artistic life, or both?
I would think, since we're focusing on creativity here, it would be some sort of creative input, but it could be anything, just as long as it like makes you inspired.
Well, I was gonna say it almost sounds counterintuitive, but I was having this interesting conversation with David Hone, that he was talking to his class about his illustration class in Portland about using reference, and there was this huge resistance, this big pushback on it. And he was trying to say, no, it's going to unlock you creatively. And it was just an interesting little point, because this over the past like 4 or 5 months since we started doing Freaky Friday, and we always draw from reference, I have found that unlocking my creativity in an absolutely huge way, just by looking at photographers and different pictures, even just stuff that people post, just casual pictures. Sometimes there'll be a pattern or a layout or something, and just working from reference has been a game. Because I used to work, basically, it was all just fanciful stuff I would just think of. I would just draw it in my sketchbook, no reference. And I got to the point where I did that enough to where I was either repeating myself and I noticed it, or just didn't have anything. And now starting with just a good reference photo just as a jumping off point, has been a game changer.
Oh, and that is something, yes, I have to add that as well, because I know we kind of talk about that in the podcast episode that we just recorded. But yeah, in the same way as you, it was just a mind-blowing light bulb. That needs to be incorporated into my practice, because you see when we're going back and forth, the reference pictures, it's a launching pad. And now I love to play in a way that I haven't before. And it's like every weekend now I want to do that. It's totally mind-blowing. Yes. So
Yeah.
Cool.
I
like
concur.
it. Yeah. So your keystone habits could be, I'm going to draw from reference once a day, or it could be something like that. So you got your tracking system. Well, what?
If people did that, drew from reference every day, started their day with just a sketch like that, I guarantee you would double your skill by the end of a quarter. If you did that every single day, be absolutely huge. Let me ask just a question real quick before you go on to the next one. What is a keystone?
Oh, so when you're building, it goes back to like stonemasonry. So you've plotted out the building, the space that the building's going to take on the ground, like a rectangle. The first stone that you place essentially is what all the other stones are oriented on. So it's called the keystone. So you put it down in the ground. It should be perfectly square if you're building a rectangle, or if it's, if you're
Right,
doing
because
like
if that
triangle.
one's not lined up, nothing else will be, because everything is based on that one thing.
Right.
What is the stone when you're building an arch and it's that center one that holds it all together?
Maybe that's a keystone, and I was talking about a cornerstone. So there's a keystone, a cornerstone, and a capstone.
Hold on. Let me look it up. Since we're talking about keystones, I just want to know what the reference point is for that word.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think when you have an arch, the one in the middle is the keystone. And if you pull that out, the arch collapses.
Right. That's what I thought it was. Yeah, it was the central stone at the summit of an arch that locks the whole thing together. So there's the phrase we want, is the keystone for whatever you're building really holds everything together.
Right. So if you think in creativity, in regards to creativity and what you want to do, let's say you want to become a graphic novel artist, but you really you stink at drawing hands. So one keystone habit would be, or you stink at anatomy or something like that. One keystone habit would be, every day I'm just going to do one page of anatomy studies in my sketchbook, and it's going to take 30 minutes or something like that. So you start working on those things for 2 weeks. And really what this does is it trains you into thinking you have this new identity. Like you're now a person who gets up in the morning and gets right to it and does these keystone habit things. And that's very important.
Real quick, I was thinking that kind of going to Cal Newport too, a good idea with that, I believe, would be to then loop that in with something that you're already doing every day. So instead of just saying, I'm going to draw from reference for 5 minutes every day, it could be after I do A, which is something that is already part of my daily routine, I will do this one. Instead of just throwing it in your day, can you pair it with something that you do every day? Like
That's great.
After I brush my teeth, I will do this or something.
That's great advice. Right. Linking it to something else, or maybe it's like you put your sketchbook by your bed at night and it's like, I'm just going to draw in bed. I'll sit up with the pillows behind me and I'll do a drawing because it might be something like that. Or you have your iPad, you're going to do it on your iPad or something like that. But that's a good point.
Can I add something there to I don't know which little section this would go in, but I do feel like it's important to talk about the identifying the limiters in your life. Like say I'm going to draw every day and it's in the morning, but that's the time where your kids wake up and they jump on you and you can't draw or something. I'm just an example.
Yeah.
It's funny because this conversation actually came up today when I was walking the dogs with my wife. I used to be so consistent about working out in the mornings, but with my son's starting the school schedule and the fact that we have these two dogs where we didn't have the dogs. When I was the most consistent working out, I didn't have any dogs.
Right.
And my kid was going to school. He was younger, so he's going to school later. And so now those two things have changed. And I realized getting the kid out the door and then walking. I have on my little planner workout in the morning, but getting the kid to school and walking the dogs is wrecking that. And it will always be in place. Those two things have to happen. And so I need to adjust what that limiter is and work around it instead of saying, well, tomorrow I'll be better about working out in the morning, because tomorrow morning I'll still have to take my kid to school and I'll still have to walk the dogs. And so it's just important to acknowledge, like, oh, I'm going to go sketch, but I'm going to try to do it at the kitchen table when your family's making dinner, and that's not going to happen. So you just need to identify where the sticking points are about why these things aren't happening in the first place.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was kind of saying earlier about being open to having to change it if necessary based on your life situation. Or it's exactly the same thing for you. I would go on my treadmill at 4:00 every day, but now that's not possible and then once my college kid goes back, then I'm going to be able to resume that. But I had to adjust it to make it work. And for the free play, it might not be manageable right now every day, but for now, I'm making it Friday is the day that I do that. But I also recognize that once college is in full swing and they're kind of set and comfortable, then I know that it's going to start being more accessible daily. So I will reassess and reconfigure at that point. And I think just being open to knowing that what's working this week may not work next week, but adjust to make it work, kind of thing.
Well, I think that's the whole point of this first layer is the discipline part, because and figuring out schedule and all that stuff. Because if you have this grand goal of like, I'm going to be a gallery artist someday, and you don't have discipline first, that's not going to happen. Because anybody who is accomplishing like big things in their careers have already mastered discipline. Stuff just doesn't fall in their lap. It's because of, very measured, determined, focused type of work. And if you're not a type of person who can do that, this is why you work on these baby steps first. Like, just try seeing if you can do something every day for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I think it's also good to ask yourself, and I've noticed that even with the running thing, I dropped the ball the last couple weeks and I stopped running and I was coming up with excuses for it. And then I had a moment and I thought, okay, why is it that you're running every day? Why are you wanting to run every day? And it's because it keeps my autoimmune disease at bay. It keeps me healthy. And in order to be able to be a good artist, for me to be mentally in a good place to create art, I need to exercise. And if I kind of remind myself of why I'm wanting that to be part of why is it an important habit? Don't let the mood of that day or whatever become the excuse where it just drops on the wayside. Figure out how to make that work because of the need that's met from doing this activity.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, layer 2, you guys ready for that?
Yep.
Layer 2, let's see it.
Word.
Okay, it's values. All right. So now it's time to figure out the kind of artist that you want to be. Figure out what it is that's driving you, what it is that is going to keep you in line with the things that you're wanting to accomplish. And the way that you do this is, I think the first step in this, and this is, you're not stopping the 2 weeks of daily habits. You're continuing those things. And now you're adding this layer on top of it. At this point, reconnect with either a philosophy or a piece of work that changed you. And so, for example, if I wanted to be a graphic novel artist, and I sort of lost sight of that, and 10 years has gone by and I haven't made a graphic novel, what would I do? I would go back and read the graphic novel that made me be like, this is so cool. I want to do this. Read it again, right? Read it with as fresh eyes as you can, because that's going to help you realize, oh yeah, this is the thing that I want to do. Or if it's a philosophy, like, something that when you first decided, oh, art is my thing, what was it that made you realize art is your thing?
I have that.
Try to reconnect with that.
Mine, can I tell you mine?
Yeah.
I'm ready to just full on blow your minds. Mine is The Alchemist, and I need to reread that book because I read it. I read it after watching a Pharrell Williams interview with Oprah years ago because I
Oh,
was
wow.
obsessed with Pharrell Williams. And I remember he said, "The book that changed my life is The Alchemist." That is the sole reason I went out and got the book because I was like, oh my gosh, Pharrell said he likes this book. I'm going to read it. And I read it and I was just like, oh, this is mine. It was the book of all times. And I read it and I totally get Pharrell. We're like soulmates.
Uh-huh.
And I need to reread that book because it totally changed me as well.
Right.
And I just wanted to become an artist. And
That's such an important point because you read these things and they change you, and then you're like, well, I'll always remember that change, but then you can sort of drift away from it. And I think you have to touch base with that stuff over and over again for it to really just to keep you on your path. What is it for you, Lee? What was one of these things for you?
I don't know. It's a good question.
What made you be like, oh, children's books, that's what I want to do?
I mean, it always goes back for me, it always goes back to those trees with the doors in it, the seasonal doors from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That was just a moment. I mean, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but I wasn't even drawing then. And that was what was so weird is that it sparked, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go home and draw this, or this is something for me. It was so abstract, the feeling, because I didn't have any way to apply it. I didn't draw then at all.
It's funny because you and I are both very similar in that experience. That was my first date with my now husband, and I was studying microbiology and virology, and I was in that movie, and I watched it, and for me, the whole 3D aspect of it, I was like, oh, I need to go to art school, and I left and went to art school. So
That's amazing.
we had very similar experiences there.
Holy cow.
That was a big one. But then certain books certain children's books that I've collected, I've gotten rid of almost, I mean, I'd say 3/4 of my library because I've moved so much. And I was like, man, I'm not even using these books. I'd rather give them so I donate them either to art schools or to libraries. But the group that I kept is such a selection of books that really are the North Star for me. So I can always just easily go over to them. It's not like I have to find them within a big system of books or, a bunch of different stuff. It's like I've culled the set down to like this grouping,
Awesome.
Cool.
So your assignment then, you two, is go read The Alchemist and go watch Nightmare Before Christmas again and go through those books again. Because I know, Lee, I don't know when the last time you actually sat down and really read through those books, but if you're ramping up for next year to really get going on a children's book, this might be a good thing for you.
I look at them almost every day because they're in my studio. But I'll tell you just real quick, there's one other movie, and I'm blanking on the name of it. I'm hoping you guys can help me remember it. It was a movie about nightmares, strangely enough. And it was this island.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, not a horror movie. It was French. And it's like a laboratory and they capture these children, these street kids from Paris.
I know what you're talking about. I cannot remember the name of that.
The City of Lost Children.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. Oh my, that was going to drive me crazy. Yeah, City of Lost Children was a game changer as well. So if you combine City of Lost Children and Nightmare Before Christmas, that's the kind of children's book that I want to make, which is why no one wants to work with me. It's not good at all.
I don't know. And I don't know. I feel like you have to do a Sean Tan type of approach to children's books where it's like,
the doors are pretty closed.
They sell somehow.
I don't know how he gets them through. It's like Sean Tan, look at Edward. Sean Tan somehow followed in the Edward Gorey footsteps. But if you tried to submit a book like Edward Gorey did or like Sean Tan did without being one of those two people, It's very difficult.
Yeah, you just have
You
to
have
go
to-
through the European markets where you
It's
can
true.
have.
You kind of have to show up at the publishing house wearing all black and like a little top hat and be like, "Hello, I have a children's book idea for you." And they'll be like, "Whoa, this is someone we cannot."
That would probably work at this point. Showing up in person.
Yeah. All right. So once you've reconnected with this, now you need to draft a personal artist code. Okay. Again, we're reinventing ourselves here. And this particular thing is to anytime you start drifting off the path, what is going to keep you back onto it? What's going to remind you? And this is something that you'll write out and you'll put on your monitor or you'll put on your wall in front of your workstation. These are things like, I make art that serves curiosity and joy, or I choose growth over perfection, or my personal one, finished, not perfect. And so whenever I'm like struggling with a piece and I'm like, man, this thing is garbage, I don't know, I should just start over, I remind myself, no, wait, finished, not perfect. You can make the next one better. And so I'll just finish this piece and move forward. And that has helped me finish everything that I've ever done, because I'm just like, it's not perfect, but I'm going to make sure this thing is finished. And that's the kind of thing you want to have to keep you on this path. Do you guys have a code that you've already done?
My code that I've been really pushing myself lately is just do it right now. Like, stop talking about what you're going to do and just show people what you did. I mean, it's such a simple thing, but instead of just always thinking about what's going to happen in the future, always just, I should sketch more, I should do this painting, just do the painting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple, but I've really have
Plus,
started
you
to.
also have nobody cares paired with that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it right now and nobody cares. And like, man, it's just freeing. And when you realize how much time you actually have, one of the things me and my wife both have been leaning on in the past year, 2 years, I've been better at it than she has, is just like, you got a free 20 minutes or 15 minutes. I don't pick up my phone and just like try to burn through it, watch it, looking at Instagram or news stories, whatever. I draw something.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how small the increment of time is that you need to actually move yourself forward.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, like I said, we've visited this before many times, but that is one of the key things of me leaving social media, was because I was just doing that too much. I was using all those little minutes and they just added up. And when I stopped it all, I just kind of was able to be present more. And yeah, it was really what I needed. My only mantra thing I have is I just think I have a Lisa Congdon poster on the wall that just says, "There is nothing wrong with you." So I'm like,
I love it. That's good. That's good. All right. So you got your code. Then the next thing is you're going to establish rituals to remind you of these values. Okay. And this is, I think, if you look at this is a lot of stuff that like religions have established as well. They have pieces of work that people return to. So like you read the Bible or you read the Torah or you read, these books of scripture. They also have these codes that you follow. So like the 10 Commandments or whatever. And the philosophy here is like, you can apply this to your artistic work, to your creative work, because these things work for people. And so the last thing is ritual. If you're religious, you go to church every Sunday and you partake of the sacrament, or you do something like that, all to remind you of this path that you've chosen, this religious path that you've chosen. Well, in creativity, you've got to infuse some of this stuff as well. So what are the rituals? These are like startup and shutdown rituals. So when you sit down to create, you have a certain song that you play. You have, a certain drink that you've mixed. You have, a certain, maybe you put on headphones, or a certain pair of socks that you wear. All of these things are just cues that tell you now it's time to create. And then when you shut down, you do certain things to tell you now it's time to stop creating and go into, normal life. It could be a ritual, would be like, I start my creative day with a walk. Maybe you walk the dogs, Lee. Maybe you turn that into like, this is where I ramp up and start thinking creatively, so that when I come in, my brain's already there. Now the body is going to be there. Or it could be something like you read a chapter from this book that, The Alchemist, or you watch a clip from one of these movies or something. And that's just what gets you and reminds you this is the thing that you're going to do. Do you guys have any rituals?
Yeah, I mean, every morning is the same. I get up, I like to have my coffee and my toast, and I like to just sit with my bulldog. But then I go for a walk every morning. I like having more time in the morning. And just when I'm more peaceful, that actually helps me for getting into the studio. So I then probably around 8:30, 9 a.m., that's when I go into my studio. And I do better by being in a specific space. So if I walk into my studio, turn the lights on, I always put on, I have like, I know it sounds cheesy, but it works for me. I go to YouTube and I often do ADHD music for,
Oh, nice. I thought you were going to say I put on my Hall & Oates record.
oh yeah. Or I'll do like just coffee jet. I just do something to get my mind just waking up, and it has to be kind of peaceful and getting it. And then I get into a groove, and I always take a good time for lunch, and I usually sit outside. I read a little bit. I just try to really just kind of be present and be peaceful in those moments. And it kind of gears me up for when I'm working. And yeah, I don't know, that's kind of mainly what happens for me. How about you, Lee?
I have realized the ritual that helps me through everything is not just listening to music, but putting on the headphones. And so, I don't know what it is about it, but like if I want to get anything done, I just keep these things charged and I put them in and I just zone. And that's like the best thing I can do in terms of getting into whatever thing I'm going to do, whether it's walking the dogs, whether it's working out, or whether it's making art. I have my playlist for different things. And so they really change how I feel. Like I listen to like this really almost a little bit like a groove oriented, like almost techno listen for my workout. And man, I work out in the morning and it gets me going really quick. I've got a playlist for when I'm trying to conceptualize something, which is much different than executing something.
Oh yeah,
and so
I'm the same way. I'm the same. I have like punk, ska, all this different stuff when I'm in building mode or when I don't have to think, and then I have completely different music for something else. And I have
That's
to
amazing.
run at the end of the day because I let out all my stress from the day through that. I can't. I've tried working out in the morning, but I can't do that. So it's just
yeah.
figuring out what works for you.
I
Yeah.
like starting the day. The ritual that I've found, I don't do it every day, although I'd like to get into that habit, and maybe I will based on some of the stuff we're talking about here. Just getting up and doing like 15 minutes in the hot tub is such a wonderful. I make coffee. I have the coffee and I go out and just sit in the hot tub and I stretch, and it's just like this great moment because typically the sun's coming up. I get up about 5:30. Sun's just starting to come up, and like it's just a wonderful sort of solo way to start the day. And I find that when I do that, the rest of the day is more balanced for whatever reason. So I'd like to. I'm kind of 50-50 on that ritual, but it definitely sets me up for success.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, like it could maybe you don't have a hot tub, someone listening, maybe you don't have, the ability to run or whatever, but it could be as simple as 5 minutes of closing your eyes and just thinking, meditation, right? And that's you just have to find something that is available to you and that you do every time before you create to just reset your brain and say, okay, now it's creative time.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Okay. So the third layer here is control, right? Okay. So this is where you actually go into organizing schedule in a deeper, more impactful way, and also the projects that you're working on. So the first one is start your multi-scale planning. And this is something that Lee was talking about, like think in quarters of the year, start breaking down quarters. But I think the first thing you do for all this, and I've got all four of these up here, is do an audit of where your time is spent. So you've been doing this daily habit, you've been doing these rituals, but then look at everything else and are you spending too much time over here on this thing? Are you spending not enough time over here on that thing? Is there a project that's sucking so much time out of your life that you have no time to do something else, right? So just do an audit so you know where everything is. Pay attention to energy levels, pay attention to when you go to bed, when you wake up, when you walk the dogs, all that stuff. And then with that in mind, set seasonal goals or quarterly goals. Then give yourself sort of weekly check-ins on those goals. I like to just make a weekly to-do list based on those goals. And then organize your day into time blocks. So like morning time is creative time. Afternoon time is administrative time, or morning time is working out. Midday is day job. Evening is creative time. You figure out what these time blocks are so you can plan accordingly. And when you are looking at a project, you're like, well, if I only have 10 hours a week, then I know this thing is going to take a certain amount of time or a certain amount of weeks to do, right? Mm-hmm. Do you guys, what kind of planning do you guys do in this regard?
I do all of those things that you just mentioned. I've got my Friday check-in, and that's where I clean up my studio, clean up my books, invoice a client, do all that kind of stuff. And I had to organize my day into time blocks because, as I've said on the podcast before, I am worthless at around 2 to 5. In terms of creative energy,
right.
and moving a creative project forward, I'm dead then. So like, for example, today I painted this morning, and then I knew we were going to do the podcast. So doing that now, then I'll eat lunch. And then around 1 or 2, I've got a big print order for a gallery in Seattle. And that's just not, I don't have to think about work like that. I am still working, I guess, but it's not like heavy mental output. It's like, I need 3 of this print. I need 1 of this print. I'm boxing it up.
Are you still planning on doing How to Fix Your Art with me this afternoon?
I can. I didn't look at the schedule.
Speaking of, I really am.
Yes. What time is that? When is that?
1 to 2, I think.
All right. Well, there's that. I'll do that.
3, I can't remember.
My point is the print stuff, I can move it around no matter how much energy I have.
Exactly.
Where I can't do that with painting. If I'm entering that exhausted state, I just won't bring anything to the painting.
Yeah. I'm noticing that I'm doing much better now that I'm part of SVS in terms of as an instructor in there, because all of the kind of scheduling and that it's forcing me to kind of keep up with being scheduled. I mean, I do much better being under deadlines and things like that. But when it's left completely to my own devices, I'm really not good at orchestrating and really planning out my weeks and my as detailed as Jake is. And this kind of having some accountability with other people and talking about what your plans are for the week, that seems to really help me. So I think for me, I can't do it alone. I kind of need someone else to talk about or to talk about plans with. And even if it's just a friend, but you're like, what are your plans this week? What are your plans? What did you want to get done today? That kind of stuff really helps me.
Yeah, that's good. So once you've got the plan figured out, now it's time to see where you can automate stuff, where you can batch things, where you can curtail some stuff. So, like Lee was saying, Fridays are sort of like these admin days. Even every day you could just say, instead of checking email 10 times during the day, just say at noon I do email and at the end of the day I do email or something like that. Figure out maybe 1 full day is devoted to a particular project so that you can really get creative inertia going that day instead of spreading it out a little bit over every day. And then the other big thing too is like, look at all this and realize what needs to be eliminated or what's distracting you from your goals that you could just pause for a season. So it might be like, for me, I was very consistent about newsletter. I'd do a newsletter every Friday, and I did that for like 3 years straight, 4 years straight, something like that. But now it's more like once a month, once every other month, just because the newsletter isn't fully aligned with some of the other things that I'm trying to do right now, even though I love doing it and I would love to get back to doing it weekly, but it's just like I have to choose what is more important to me right now, and it's getting this particular work done instead of putting out a newsletter.
Yeah. And do you think that I'm wondering if you feel the same way with Substack and everything? I'm starting to feel that it's almost becoming so flooded with newsletters, and to the point where I'm wondering kind of if it's almost too much in general coming from everybody, that I don't know if you felt that way.
I think, yeah, with the great newslettering of our culture, I would say people are definitely like sticking to the ones that bring them the most value. So it's not to say don't do it, because there's people who love a Sam Cotterill email in their inbox and are just delighted every time one shows up. So you want to deliver for them
Next year.
next year. It's the same with Lee. Like Lee, you had a good email newsletter going there as well when you were pretty consistent with that too.
But it drops off the second I start leaning into something else. Something has
Yeah.
to give, and that's
Yeah.
what I want to add to this list. I don't know if you have any more on this list, but one of the things that I think is super important is to realize that as you go through all this, thinking and planning and strategizing, realize that even in a best case scenario, getting 70% of it done is a huge win.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
It's never. I mean, it's the thing that there's a couple of productivity podcasts that I listen to, and the one thing that they never talk about is the reality of actually doing it. It sounds like every day they wake up and they're like, okay, I got my boxes, and they're checking off the boxes, and yay for me, I did everything, and I'm the greatest. It never works like that. I never get. No matter how much I plan, no matter how much I think about my days and all this stuff, it never works out like I think it's going to. And I have to be okay with that 70%, but 70% over time makes a massive difference. So I do want to just add that don't feel bad if you plan all this out and it just gets wrecked by something,
Yeah.
But going back to these layers in this stack, this whole time you're working on discipline, you've got your values figured out. Once you've got control added to it, so that you have, I remember before I even knew how to schedule or to do anything, like stuff was always falling through the cracks. And now I know when stuff falls through the cracks. It doesn't surprise me when it does. Whereas before I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to do that thing. At least once you have control, it just helps you pivot a little better when you need to. It helps you stay on track a little better when you need to. It just overall is better for this reinvention of yourself that you're doing. And that leads us to layer 4, vision. Okay. So you've got all of this energy, this discipline, this vision, this control, all of this power behind you. What do you focus it on? And this is where you start making meaningful change in your life in the area that you want to. Okay. So if you notice at this point, we haven't really talked about like embarking on the big project yet. And this is where you start to do that. So the first thing is we call Cal Newport calls it a small overhaul. So this is where you've got all this discipline now, you've got all this control in your schedule, you have the values, you're going to make something remarkable. And this could be new portfolio pieces. It could be a short comic if you're a comic artist, or a zine or something like that. It could be setting up for a convention or an art fair. It could be developing a book proposal. But the thing is a small overhaul, this remarkable project is very much in line with the new you that you want to become. So the person who started out 4 months prior to this, or the 3 months prior to this, is a person who's never done a book proposal, or it's been 5 years since they've done a book proposal. And now they're actually at this point where like, yes, I'm going to do this. I've got it charted out. I can finish it by this day. I'm in contact with an agent. I've got all this stuff going on, and it's starting to happen. So that's the small overhaul. And then the large overhaul this is where you start beginning work on this bigger dream. And usually the small thing is a component of that. So let's say you want to have your own gallery show and become a gallery artist. Well, your portfolio piece that you're working on now could be the first piece in your next gallery show. Or the proposal is going to help you get an agent, which is going to lead to a book deal, which is going to lead to having a career in books. Or you're going to start making the graphic novel based on the short comic that you've done, right? So these are like the two things in this last 4 weeks where now it's like, okay, let's pick the project, let's pick the path, and let's start working on it. So that when, if we go back, if you're actually doing this starting in September, when January hits, where everybody else is like, my habit this year is I'm going to draw every day. And you're like, well, I'm just 3 weeks away from finishing my proposal. And my goal, this year is to get a book deal, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything you guys want to add to this to layer 4 vision? And does vision play a role in what you guys are trying to do?
I meant
Well,
just pondered
that's
that
sort
one
of the
for a
North
bit.
Star, right? I mean, that sort of guides everything. That should be, in my opinion, that should be number one, right? I mean, like, because doesn't that guide the rest of
I
it?
think you have this vision in number one. You know where you want to be in number one, but this is layer 4 is actually working on it.
Oh, okay.
Whereas like it'd be if you just started, I'm working on my vision today. You don't have the habits in place. You don't have the schedule figured out yet. You're going to get a week into it and be like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is too much. I'm toast. Right. Whereas if you do all these other things first, once you start on this, you're like, you can actually make meaningful progress on it instead of stops and starts.
And one of the things I think to be careful of with the large overhaul is setting a goal that doesn't have anything to do with the choice that you can make.
Mm-hmm.
So like, oh, I'm going to get a book deal this year. But what if you don't? Then did you miss your goal? Like you can't control whether you get a book deal, but what you can do is make work to propose for a book deal.
Exactly.
And that's more meaningful to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Very
Like
good.
you can't control whether or not your graphic novel will be published, but you have total control whether or not it's finished.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't you
Exactly.
both find that I've always felt though that fall time usually is my time that I start to get a renewed energy and I start to get ideas and plan. Like fall has always been, I think, my New Year's time. I don't know if that's just in line with the weather. Maybe it's dependent on location. I mean, I live in an environment where the fall crisp air comes in and I start to, that's kind of and school season, whether kids are going to college or wherever, to me, that's always been my time to start thinking and planning for the year. So maybe I've just been always ahead of Cal Newport.
Maybe.
He took the idea off of me.
Well, I think too, like if you've been in publishing, publishing world shuts down as far as like meetings and reviews and getting work, through the pipeline. It really shuts down from May to like September.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's wild.
And editors are out of the office and you're on vacation too and whatnot. So I think the seasons are really important. And this is why one of the reasons, I appreciate leaving Arizona is because it was like one season all year long. It was like springish, summerish all year long. And so there never was like an awakening and a sleeping and a grinding and a resting. It was just
it's just
constant.
hot all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I have to have change of seasons. I have to have change of seasons.
I felt the same way you did, Jake, in Los Angeles. It wasn't quite as extreme as where you were in
Los
Phoenix,
Angeles
but
kinda had the
LA,
same. Yeah.
I always hated Christmas in LA. It was just like nothing.
Yeah. It's like pretend Christmas in July type of
Right.
thing. Well, that's the 4-month reinvention artist version. Screenshot this recap if you're on here, or you can go back through and screen grab any of these if you hadn't taken notes. But the challenge for everyone listening today is pick today right now, just pick a keystone habit that you're going to start working on next week. Just pick one of those, and you could pick all three if you want, but is it an input habit? Is it an organizational habit? Is it an output habit? And then I want you to write in your sketchbook or write anywhere where you write something, where you want your art to be in 4 months, or what you want to be doing as an artist in 4 months. And I think that sort of have the vision, but start with the key habit, I think is the first steps in getting you like so killer and operational by January that people are like, who is this new person? I thought you were, I thought you just played video games all day, but here you are trying to do something grand and spectacular.
Excellent presentation, Jake. Excellent.
That is really good. Hey, side note, was Jake breaking up for you a little bit?
Yes, I was hoping that I wasn't going to hear, what do you think, Sam? And I was going to go, I don't know what you just said.
I was hoping, I saw that I was freezing up, and I was hoping that you guys weren't being like, oh, shoot, we lost Jake. Well, okay, bye, everybody.
No, I've learned that it's recording you locally, so that might not actually play out, so people won't even know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Anyway,
right,
cool. Should we wrap it up?
Sounds good.
Wrap.
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us. 3-Point Perspective is made possible by SVSLEARN, where becoming a great illustrator starts. And your hosts today are Sam Cotterill, Lee White, and I'm Jake Parker. I just want to do a little shout out here to everybody. Also point out that I am in a new studio space, and I don't have my mic stand, so I've had to hold my mic like a talk show host today or something, like I'm Phil Donahue. So that's why I've been holding the mic. It wasn't any sort of stylistic choice or anything, but special shout out and thanks to everybody who helps make this podcast and SVSLEARN possible. Our team manager, Preston Smith, our podcast producer, Daniel Tu, our keeper of the curriculum and the community, Austin Shirtliff, our show notes wrangler, Lily Howell, our chief operations officer, Lisa Fott, and our illustrator, Annalise Black. Now, go draw something.
Excellent. Wow. Way to show up.
Excellente. Are you not plugged in, Jake? Are you working from Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi, there's no plug-in here.
You're going to have to run one of those 100-foot cords to your modem.
I know. I got to figure this out. And I used to have the best internet ever in Arizona. We had fiber, and now I hope there's something like that in the new house.
There will be. I mean, everywhere. You're in a populated area. You should have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll be cool.
I hope so.
How's your Airbnb?
It's not bad. It's, let's see, 4-bedroom. So I have an office, and then everyone else has their own room. So it's good. It's cramped, but and we're like we're not used to being like having a tiny couch that only 3 of us can fit on.
Okay.
Did your kids start college?
So it's Penny and Calvin are in high school. They just started yesterday, and that's going fine, I guess.
But aren't you there for one of your kids starting college? Or am I mistaken?
No. Lucy's in Buena Vista, which is like 2 hours that way. And she's actually graduated, but she is starting her master's, but it's remote. So she's only in Buena Vista because her husband's in college there, Jude. So that's what's going on there. But we saw them. We got to hang out with them. We're going to hang out with them on Saturday, which is super cool.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Well, I love it here. Can I just say that?
I was going to ask, like, what's the big impression? I haven't heard any. I've heard
like,
the
what's
technical
one of the
detail.
things that made you go, oh, I'm just so happy we're here?
Okay. Character. Like, the city has character. The people are super nice. Really, everybody we've met has been just so polite and pleasant. Even like the scary neighbors are just like, what's up? You know, It's visually, it's just green, which I love, but also visually there's just like texture and layers everywhere. And Arizona was just like, I mean, once you got into the desert, you got that, but in the city, where you spend 90% of your day or 95% of your life, it's just straight lines. And yeah, I mean, you were there, Lee. Like
Pretty
flat.
boring. I mean, I'll agree with you. It was just not that exciting. Strip malls and
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah. And then the weather's been absolutely gorgeous. Like we've it's been a little bit of a mild August, everyone's telling us, but like, you just go out and there's a cool breeze.
Yeah.
Just
I
so
mean, just the
nice.
fact that you're going from 117 as a high to 91 or
The,
87 is a
the day we packed up the car, it was 116. I was
Oh,
sweating. I had to run the car so the air conditioning could be like cooling it off as we're packing it, but then all the heat from the engine is like pouring out the bottom. And it was like, I could feel the temperature just that radiating off the garage door and the pavement. Like it felt like 125, like an
mhm,
oven.
I
And
would
I'm
just
just loading.
cry.
Yeah.
seriously.
So we loaded up and we hit the gas, and I did not even look in the rearview mirror. I'm just like, see ya.
Wow. I don't think I could even survive 116. I would just
I'm such an outdoor person that would piss me off. I mean, even Tennessee was bad with that. And it's just it's a game changer.
Yeah.
But I mean, when fall gets here, that's going to be where you're going to really. I mean, that's like fall in that area,
Hmm.
unbelievable.
I mean, we lived
yeah.
in Connecticut for 5 years,
Oh
and
yes,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
I was like blown away by the seasons when we lived there.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, Thomas Kincaid wasn't like overreacting. He was,
Well, when we moved here, I mean, we before New York, we lived in Calgary.
hmm
And when we moved here, I remember because in Canada and Calgary especially, it's like either summer or winter. There's no
yeah,
fall. And the day we moved in, the leaves here started to, and I remember my eldest was like, "Mommy, the leaves are orange." Like he'd never seen an orange leaf or because everything there, it was just green or dead.
hmm
And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, it's like a Bob Newhart TV show." We were just all, it was
yeah,
so, I love fall. I love it.
that's so cool. Anyway, it's the hardest part is just missing all our friends. You know, that's
How's the kids adjusting with that?
they are doing. I mean, yesterday was their first day of school, and so they just kind of said hi to people. And Calvin Calvin didn't know where to go for lunch, so he just sat down by himself, like next to a tree. And I'm like, Calvin, no one's going to walk over and say, "Oh, can I sit by you?" Like you sitting alone over there is like, please, nobody talk to me.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
So we coached them, and hopefully today, they can figure out the
Yeah.
friend thing, start to make
yeah.
some friends and whatnot.
Big
But
changes. So
yeah,
it's exciting though.
and then Lee, we close on that house hopefully in about a month from now,
I can't
or
believe
we'll
how
be
quick you
starting
did
to
all
move
that.
in.
That's so fast.
Yeah,
I
Wow.
mean, how many houses did you look at? Was that the only one?
we I mean we had like a 10 houses on our list, but then Allison eliminated 7 of them just by driving around on her own and like looking at them from the
Mhm.
outside and just being like, I don't like the neighborhood, or I don't like the location, because we don't know the location very well. So once you're actually there in a car, you can realize like, oh, this is not going to work, or we didn't realize it's on a steep hill and parking's like dangerous or whatever. So
Yeah.
she eliminated, and then we had 3, and it was either, and one of them really checked all of our boxes, but again, not every house is perfect unless you have an enormous budget, right? uh, so it's almost like we take this house which is 80 or 90% perfect, and or we wait around for it to come up. But then we're in this tiny little Airbnb with poor internet connection.
Yeah.
For
And
how
you're
long?
just
entering the
waiting to start your
season
life.
when, and you're entering the season where sales are going to go because people are in
Right.
school.
Fewer
all
and
that
fewer
stuff.
houses are popping up,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think it was
We
smart.
essentially have to wait until spring.
Smart. I'm going to ditch you guys real quick because I got to go, but
Okay. Bye, Sam.
you continue. Continue
Yeah.
without me.
I'll stop recording here too.